Hello there, and welcome to Andre's artist profile. This is an artist profile that I have been wanting to make, well, ever since I actually started making artist profiles in the first place. As a lot of people in my age bracket, 33, 30, and over, I grew up hearing mostly mistruths and outright lies about what made Jimi Hendrix so famous. He was advertised to me as being, the king of acid rock and a huge acid head. On drugs, even at Woodstock wearing a bandana soaked with LSD so it would soak into his head while it performed. A lot of nonsense. And it detracted from my appreciation of his talent. The idea that, oh, it must have been drugs that just made him that way. A very juvenile perception. I didn't know how much pure musicality Jimi Hendrix actually possessed. Anyhow, what happened was in the early 2000s, his father Al Hendrix put out a biography called My Son Jimmy to try to dispel some of those rumors. And it was honest. He even admitted he didn't know if he didn't use any drugs, but stated that it was unlikely that Jimi Hendrix used as much as they said. And not only that, that his death in 1970 at the age of 27 had a lot more to do with fatigue from his Electric Ladyland studios being constructed and used. Being asked to perform at so many places resulted in an overdose of sleeping pills, which resulted in the rumors of a massive drug overdose of illegal substances, illicit substances, which apparently is not true. But anyway, enough of the tabloid stuff. Let's get to the meat of what makes Jimi Hendrix so special to me. All of the ones you see here in the beginning are all from the first wave of the Hendrix family releases from 1997 or so. And they've since been reissued since, but, they're always reissuing Hendrix stuff everywhere, so. This is the album Are You Experienced? And these albums, well, except for one of them, don't contain bonus tracks, but this is an album of standards in and of itself, with Mitch Mitchell and Otis Redding. Obviously, it's got, Purple Haze, Hey Joe, The Wind Cries Mary, Fire, Foxy Lady, Stone Free, all Jimi Hendrix standards. The title song. My favorite on here is Third Stone from the Sun. Perfect example of the strong jazzy fusion side of Jimi Hendrix psychedelic rock and the acumen of his playing. Just a brilliant, brilliant musician. The next album is and one that came out later the same year, 1967, The Summer of Love. And this is called Axis Bold as Love. And this album features my favorite Jimi Hendrix song, Up From the Skies. That's actually featured on a old radio broadcast tape of Social Security PSAs narrated by James Earl Jones called Genius on the Black Side. I believe it's volume 2 of Genius on the Black Side. And he profiles Jimi Hendrix, and the song Up From the Skies is the one he uses. And that was the first time I ever heard Jimi Hendrix and how I got into him. And so this album also includes You've Got Me Floating, Little Wing, just another plethora of Hendrix standards. And interlinked between it is this faux radio show on PXT about flying saucers and UFOs. It's kind of interesting and even amusing sometimes. If 6 Was 9 was also on here. So is Bold as Love, Castles Made of Sand, another album of Hendrix standards. Okay. The last album he released with the Experience was the one he named his studio after, Electric Ladyland. This album originally featured a cover of, well, Naked Ladies. And Linda McCartney took what they inevitably use as the cover art when they censored it. And this album has Voodoo Child's Slight Return, his famous version of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower, which became a huge hit for him, and 1983, A Merman, I Shall Turn to Be. It's considered one of the classic double albums, right along with Miles Davis masterpieces like Bitches Brew, or Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life, something like that, one of the classic double albums. After that, he got involved with Billy Cox, who he had known in the Army, when Jimi Hendrix was in the Army, one of the earliest people Jimi Hendrix actually knew, and the fantastic soul, rock, funk drummer Buddy Miles for the Band of Gypsies, which came out in 1970. and he had a big success with a song called Machine Gun off of that. He actually makes his guitar sound like a machine gun. I mean, Jimi Hendrix was rewriting the electric guitar the same way that B.B. King and Muddy Waters were before him. He was in that lineage of a blues artist, and that's what I consider him. Gil Scott-Heron calls it a bluesologist, and I see Hendrix as very much in that tradition. And that was the last album he released during his lifetime. In 1970, he worked in Electric Ladyland Studios to create, well, what was supposed to be another album, but he ended up dying, of course. And the Hendrix family, those albums were reissued with a bunch of other stuff in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but never coherently. So the Hendrix family, it made their first reissue, I think, during the late 90s too, called First Rays of the New Rising Sun. It contains songs from the posthumous Jimi Hendrix collection, The Cry of Love, and a number of other things that they had unearthed. This is actually one of the modern reissues, a double disc that contains a DVD. It's a 2010 release. And actually, it contains songs like Easy Rider, Angel, Isabella, Freedom, and all that. I bought it the same day that this album actually came out. Another similarly themed record, Valleys of Neptune. And this year, this album came out. I don't know if you can see it in this light, but it is embossed. The silver embossed album. This features also songs that were included in the soundtrack to the feature film Rainbow Bridge, which includes a fantastic Jimi Hendrix performance. And if you can find that movie, rent it, buy it, or get it. Rainbow Bridge is a fantastic film and worthwhile for Jimi Hendrix admirers. And that's what I have for Jimi Hendrix. And it's really a pity that he could not be here to make music with us today. But this is a tribute to his artistry and his contributions to the world of modern music, even beyond psychedelia. So there we have it. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, the Band of Gypsies, and his work at Electric Ladyland Studios. And my shout out to all you Hendrix admirers and guitar players inspired by him. See you next time.